Welcome back. Former President Trump is warning about the migrant crime crisis after an illegal migrant from Ecuador was arrested for allegedly raping a 13-year-old girl in broad daylight in a Queens park in New York. Trump telling Fox News Digital, quote, "These are Biden migrants. They are flooding our country. They are flooding our cities and states. It will get worse. Far worse unless I am reelected president." Meanwhile, the White House is offering condolences now to the family of Maryland mother Rachel Morin. But no solutions. An illegal migrant from El Salvador was arrested last week for allegedly raping her and killing her near a hiking trail last year. This is all happening as President Biden announced a new pathway to citizenship for thousands of illegal migrant spouses of U.S. citizens. Here's what the president said about this yesterday.
I'm not interested in playing politics with the border or immigration. I'm interested in fixing it. I will work with anyone to solve these problems. That's my responsibility as president. That's our responsibility as Americans.
Unfortunately, he hasn't worked with anybody. Joining me now is New York Post columnist and Fox News contributor Miranda Devine. Miranda, great to see you. Unfortunately, Joe Biden has not worked with Republicans to secure the border, despite lots of calls over the last 3.5 years to do just that. Your reaction?
Yes, Maria. And he doesn't really need to work with Republicans. He just needs to unwind all those executive orders that he put into place in his first day in office. He deliberately and proudly boasted about unwinding the Trump-era border protections. He did it, and the result is we have 8-10 million. No one really knows how many illegal aliens here. And the result is a 13-year-old girl being raped in a park in broad daylight in New York, a mother of 5 being raped and murdered in Maryland, Lake and Riley. I mean, the death toll is piling up. And Donald Trump says it'll get worse if he's not elected. That's absolutely right. But what's going to happen in the intervening 7 months between now and January 20? Joe Biden has done so much damage to this country, and he's such a liar when he says he's not playing politics. This is all about politics.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way, Miranda. And I know you've got an op-ed out in the New York Post this morning titled "Don't Fall for Joe Biden's Nice Old Man Act." He's just lowering expectations. You think it's all an act, or does he not know what he's doing?
No, he doesn't know what he's doing sort of 90% of the time. But I guess what I'm saying is that Joe Biden has this uncanny ability to be able to pull out a decent performance when he needs to politically. We saw that at the State of the Union address when everyone had written him off as completely demented and senile. We saw that in the debates in 2020 when I think that Donald Trump may have underestimated the ability that Joe Biden still has, whether it's muscle memory or just a sort of a slyness that's in every bone in his body, to be able to somehow pull out a pretty passable debate performance. And because everyone's expecting that he'll be disastrous, if he doesn't fall off the stage, he wins.
Well, I wonder if Jake Tapper is going to bring up the influence peddling in this debate. I'm going to go through these new emails we've got in a moment, but I have been reading from this letter that I have in my hand. This letter is from James Comer, the head of the Oversight Committee, as well as the heads of the Judiciary and House Ways and Means. And they sent a letter to President Biden. And I'm just going to read you the top line. I know you have this letter, Miranda. During the 118th Congress, the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability has been investigating influence peddling conducted by you and your family. The committee has accounted for over $24 million that has flowed from foreign sources to you, your family, and their business associates. The committee has identified no legitimate services to merit such lucrative payments. I won't go on. You know where this is going. Comer lists money that they have identified from China, Russia, Ukraine. And the other day I saw a clip of Jake Tapper, and he said something like, remember on the debate in 2020 when Trump said that the family had accepted money from foreigners? Joe Biden said he hadn't. Joe Biden lied. That's what Jake Tapper said. So Jake Tapper is aware that this is going on. I don't know if he'll bring it up in the debate. Will he be allowed to bring it up in the debate on CNN now, 8 days away?
I don't know. I think that will be a real test for CNN and particularly for Jake Tapper to see if he has journalistic integrity. I mean, there's a lot of high stakes here at CNN. They've already seemingly rigged the playing field to favour Joe Biden. Whatever Joe Biden wants, he gets. So let's see if the questions are fair and reasonable. And if they are, they certainly ought to go to Joe Biden and his involvement in his family's influence peddling schemes with our nation's adversaries. That's what we have to understand. This is China. This is Hunter Biden going to China with his father in 2013, sitting at the head table with his father, meeting the top CCP officials and then boasting about it and then leveraging it for a 10% stake in a private equity firm. That's just the tip of the iceberg. And James Comer and his team, they get derided all the time. They've done a manful job in teasing out all those bank documents, all those suspicious activity reports to put together a pattern and a picture of what was going on during Joe Biden's vice presidency when his family raked in millions of dollars from these countries and Joe Biden was there on the speakerphone having breakfast, having dinner with these foreign clients, offering himself as the brand, as the product.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to watch to see if that comes up. But, you know, we've got these new Hunter Biden emails obtained by Fox News Digital. They show that a top Chinese Communist Party leader allegedly asked Hunter Biden to travel to China to talk about future business opportunities. This was all in the emails in December of 2013. You just mentioned what happened next. Hunter joined then Vice President Joe Biden on Air Force Two. Okay, so he goes on Air Force Two when Joe Biden is going to Asia. They take a 6-day trip around Asia, which included China. There, Hunter attended multiple events with Joe Biden, including a lunch that featured CCP leaders. On December 5th, Hunter emails one of his business associates that the top CCP leader sat next to Joe Biden at the lunch, and he asked Hunter to travel to Hong Kong. His business associate writes back the next day saying, "I can go with you to find out what he can do for us." Meanwhile, House Republicans say that Hunter also used his father's role as vice president to, quote, discourage scrutiny in his 2016 Securities and Exchange Commission investigation, which involved his business associates. Miranda, your reaction to all of this now that we've seen these emails?
It's further proof that Hunter Biden was using his proximity to his father's power and influence to extract money from China. We know he did that with other countries as well. And for the Democrats and their enablers in the media to keep denying the undeniable is just insane. It's the same position they are taking on the laptop, even though it's been entered into court as a trial exhibit for the government in Hunter Biden's gun trial in Delaware.
Right. By the way, the same position that they took on Russia collusion as well, right? They all got
exactly,
awards for their reporting. So, of course, they're never going to admit the fact that it was all garbage, Miranda. They made up a story in the Clinton campaign that Trump colluded with Russia. And, of course, the media went with it across the world.
Exactly. And that's why there has to be accountability. You know, Democrats are talking about Donald Trump exacting retribution. It's not about retribution. It's about people going to jail and people being held accountable for the lies and the perjury that they and the sabotage that they have conducted and the dishonesty and corruption.
Yeah, well, it was really rich to hear Andrew McCabe on CNN the other day say, oh, everybody in the FBI is worried that Trump's going to throw them in jail. Why? Because he knows what they did. McCabe knows what he did in 2016.
Guilty conscience. Exactly. Guilty conscience.
Miranda, great to see you. Thanks so much.
You too, Maria.
Miranda Devine, New York Post columnist.